This video is going to give you every bit of knowledge you need in order to get started on Warzone 2. Now, we've been making guides for the last 7 years here at GameLeap, and we're starting our premium membership website for Call of Duty this month. And since you're one of the OGs, we are going to give you 50% off. Use code WARZONE to pre-order your membership. We have all kinds of juicy courses planned and designed to help you become a pro. Go to GameLeap.com or click the link in the description below and use code WARZONE for 50% off right now. So Warzone 2 is another installment in the Battle Royale genre. The basic goal is to loot and kill everyone else in the lobby and be the last one standing or squad if you're playing in a group. The map is huge and requires good communication and planning in order to win, and Warzone 2 adds its own flavor into this genre with a few different mechanics. The absolute first thing you're going to want to do before you even get in game is set up a good loadout that fits your playstyle. This requires some tinkering and is best done in the shooting range or in Modern Warfare 2's base multiplayer, especially since in order to get good attachments, you need to level your guns, and that will happen very slowly in Warzone as opposed to the CoD multiplayer. I generally recommend bringing a versatile loadout that covers short and mid ranges, since snipers are good, but you can avoid them in most cases due to just how many buildings there are on this map, and as you get later into the game, the snipers become less important since the gas will start to close in and force players to converge into specific areas on the map, leading to close range battles one way or another. Okay, so now you have a loadout set, but you are not going to end up using it in the early stages. Early on, you get a pistol and you get to go and find loot and weapons for yourself. Once you load in, you're greeted with this cutscene here, and then you get the prompt to check your map or drop. If you're playing with a team, you're going to want to group up with them on your landing and pay close attention to where they are going. You can do this by using the voice chat and ping system on the map to show where you want to go, and teammates can confirm this by pinging on top of your ping. The important thing to know is the more dense the area you drop in, the more loot there is going to be, but this is a double-edged sword as you're going to be taking a lot of early fights in those denser areas, so you need to be confident in your aim and your movement. It's also important to note that as you're flying in the airship, when one of your teammates jumps out of the back before you do, you get an audio cue saying, hey, your teammate just dropped. As I mentioned before, in those more dense areas, there's going to be more players, but also more loot, so if you're someone who prefers the slower, loot at your own pace and take fights later approach, look for remote areas that have only a few buildings in them. Just be warned that the low risk playstyle is also certain to result in low loot in general, and you can find yourself outgunned if you don't get lucky enough with the random drops. At the end of the day, remember that you are going to have to fight people one way or another, so if you don't have great loot, you're going to have to really rush to a new area in order to find some. So as you are dropping, you want to try to cut your parachute as late as possible. There's a lot of people out there suggesting to do the cut and uncut trick, but I think that this simply wastes time as you want to get to looting before someone else takes your building over and causes you to miss out on having a real weapon for the early gunfights. Your early game should be quick and focused on grabbing a decent weapon, especially an SMG if you can find one, and taking those quick engagements to fight enemies before they are ready. That way, looting afterwards is a much more relaxed process and you can be much more thorough. It's really all about being quick, efficient, and deadly in the early game, so don't be afraid to snatch and grab and go straight for pushing those players with your squad. Again, if you're in a more remote area, you might not have to do this. Pay attention to where people are parachuting above you as soon as you land, that way you have an idea of where they are. And 100% try to avoid pushing in alone in team-based games, as you'll definitely be at a disadvantage if the enemy squad comes in to help their teammate. As far as loot goes in this game, it is very straightforward. You can pick up guns, armor plates, which you can use to replenish your armor and thereby increase your health, and you may even find a 3-plate vest which gives you more armor to use at a time. There's also grenades and things like that, but most of all, you can find cash. Cash is one of the things that leads to Warzone 2 being a standout battle royale, as you can then head to a buy station in order to spend it. Buy stations have a variety of items that go from most to least expensive and include things like grenades, a better vest, and a primary weapon from one of your loadouts, which is the first time that loadouts are actually going to come in handy so far. There's also a couple of kill streak options in there, such as a UAV, which is extremely powerful in Warzone, and a mortar strike. You can find cash by looting, but without a doubt the best way to acquire a lot of it to get some of the more expensive stuff is going to be the contract system, which gives you a bunch of different objectives based on the type of contract that you pick up. There are 4 contract types right now, so we're going to go through each one of them one at a time. The first one is bounty, which marks a player for you to target and gives you a general idea of their location. There's literally no downside to picking these ones up, as even if someone else kills your target, you still get a small reward, so be sure to always try to pick up bounties when you see them. You even get an XP boost for just starting one. Big game bounties target high value enemies that have a lot of kills in the server, so be warned that big game bounties are generally going to mark the most dangerous players for you, which can honestly be useful information on its own. The second contract type on the list is intel, which involves first finding a laptop in a highlighted area on the map. Once you get near it, it will show up for you and your squad if you are playing with one. Upon interacting with it, you will pull a hard drive out of it, and then you must deliver the hard drive to a second spot on the map, which is also shown to you in a similar fashion. You then need to take the hard drive to the second location, and you will get a cash reward as well as information on where the next circle will be, which can provide your team a very big tactical advantage. There isn't much risk to taking this contract up either. The third contract type is Safecracker, which will ping 3 different locations on your map that contain a safe which you will need to approach, interact with in order to place a charge on, and then get away from as it explodes. Each safe will contain money and loot for you to pick up, and you will get a bonus reward if you manage to get all 3 of the safes opened up. This one also carries very little risk and is definitely worth picking up every time, as even if you only hit one safe, the loot tends to be decent and it's free money just waiting to be picked up. And finally, we have the most dangerous contract, which also has a pretty massive reward, Most Wanted. Most Wanted marks you on the map for everyone for 3 minutes, painting a massive target on your back. If you survive that time, however, you get a big cash bonus as well as a revival for all of your dead teammates, whether they are in the Gulag or even if they are stuck spectating. This can be an absolute game changer, and if you can stomach the risk attached, or if you are a super confident player, it can be extremely lucrative despite its difficulty. That's all for the contract systems for now. If you see an opportunity to grab a contract aside from the Most Wanted contract, don't be afraid to pick it up, as once again, those are the easier and more low risk contracts that will give you a reward pretty much every single time. The most important mechanic about Warzone 2, however, is that you understand loadout drops. I'll be covering loadouts more heavily in a video soon to be released, so be sure to subscribe in order to keep up to date on that when it comes out. But in general, loadout drops are spots which give you access to your full loadout, equipment and all, and have a few different ways of getting them. For starters, there are drops which fall in between the 2nd and 6th round, which is represented by when the gas moves, and it can be sought out by any player. This means it'll carry stiff competition, and you'll need to be ready for a fight when you're getting one. However, you can also obtain a loadout drop and more by going after a stronghold, represented by a little castle icon on the map, and are marked after the end of the 1st round. Strongholds are one of the new mechanics in Warzone 2, so definitely an unfamiliar one to Warzone 1 players, meaning this knowledge will give you an advantage in the early stages of the game. They are areas which are filled by NPCs, and upon clearing one, you will gain access to a loadout drop, some strong loot, and perhaps most importantly, a permanent UAV. Of course, strongholds require some serious caution, as these things offer a massive advantage, and with any massive advantage comes massive competition, so not only will you have to worry about the NPCs, but you also have to worry about players coming in to swipe your loot. But of course, if you clear it out first, as mentioned before, they give you some serious spoils. The permanent UAV granted by a stronghold will constantly show you positions of enemy players on the map, as well as which direction they are facing, which can give you a huge advantage for locating people as you are forced to move around. Be aware though that the ghost perk still does exist in Warzone 2, meaning you may find yourself caught off guard if you rely too hard on the radar to show you every enemy's position. Always keep your eyes peeled and look for enemies to be holding corners and camping angles, and try to avoid running out into super open sight lines even if you think nobody is watching. Natural cover is always going to be your friend. The next most important mechanic to understand, especially for new players who will certainly find themselves dying for a few games, is the Gulag. The Gulag is a returning element of the game from Warzone 1 that gives players a way to get back into the game on their own. There are some seriously stark changes to the Gulag in Warzone 2, however. Upon dying, you are sent to the Gulag, where you must wait your turn to fight in the arena in the middle of the map. Take this time to familiarize yourself with the terrain inside of the arena and prepare a strategy to fight in it. Inside of the arena, there will be grenades lying around on the floor for you to pick up and throw, and you'll have to fight with the weapons that the game gives you when it's your turn. Generally, these are just going to be a pistol with a laser on them and a few grenades. The goal of the Gulag is to eliminate the other team, as unlike in Warzone 1, you are paired up with another person who is in the waiting room. I've found that the game tries to prioritize putting you with a squad mate, but I have been matched once or twice with someone completely random who is also in the waiting room. Warzone 2, however, takes it a step further and adds a whole new mechanic, the Jailer. Proximity chat is actually going to play a really important part here, as you can discuss with the enemy team if you want to go after the Jailer, who will appear in 30 seconds, shown at the top of your HUD. When the Jailer enters the Gulag, he wields a minigun and has a lot more health than the average player. It is important to note that the Jailer is actually an NPC. If both teams take their time to fight the Jailer instead of each other, they have a shot at beating him, and once he dies, all 4 players are returned into the fight. If the teams face each other as normal and one team succeeds, that team will end up being the one to get back to the war zone, so being convincing is a strategy that can help you get 4 players instead of 2 back, but you'll need to be careful not to get betrayed by the enemy team, or you can always betray them yourself if you are particularly devious. Upon winning the Gulag, you'll be sent to dropping in an area somewhat close to your team. Be extremely wary, as there isn't much protection protection to stop you from being shot as you are dropping, and you do not retain any of your old loot, meaning you'll once again have to go back to square one of finding new weapons and getting yourself back into the fight. If you lose the Gulag, do not give up and leave, because your teammates can still get you back alive through either buying you back or by completing the most wanted contract. Plus, they can even win on their own without you. There are tons of ways for you to be revived after dying or still even win while spectating, so give your teammates a chance. In Warzone 1, there were also random events that happened, such as Jailbreak, which would bring everyone back by airdrop, and while I'm not sure if these are present or will be present quite yet in Warzone 2, I'd be surprised if they weren't, so stay hopeful even when you're eliminated. The last couple of mechanics I want to go over for new players are pretty important, one of them being the ping system. Pings are absolutely vital. Of course, communication is key, but nothing is easier for a teammate to understand than seeing a visual representation of what exactly you're talking about. Instead of saying on the hill, which could represent a wide area, you can both say on the hill and ping exactly where an enemy is to make your teammate's reaction time much faster. You can also ping loot such as 3-plate vests or guns that your team may need, or ammo or armor plates, so really make use of the ping system to its fullest in order to keep your team organized in a well-oiled machine. The final mechanic we're going to cover in this video is the interrogation system. When you down an enemy, you can always simply kill them to keep their teammates from reviving them, same as most other battle royales, or if you're confident they are far from their team, you can actually get close and interact with them in order to start what's called an interrogation. It's important to not do this in the middle of a massive firefight, as it takes a few seconds and can end up getting you killed if the enemy squad comes back while you're interrogating their teammate, but if you manage to get through all of it, you get a nice reward. Not only will you get an instant notification on your map where the down player's squad mates are, but you will also get an outline of their bodies in real time. This is extremely powerful for giving you a huge advantage in punishing players who may have gotten too far away from their squad mates. Again, don't be greedy, as getting yourself killed while going for this is an absolutely huge possibility. Try not to interrogate enemies in the open where there are many sightlines to get killed from, and make sure you don't hear any footsteps or have any easy ways of being pushed unexpectedly while you're interrogating an enemy. It's even better if you can get a teammate to cover you while you're going for your interrogation. That way, if anyone does push you unexpectedly, you at least have someone to fight on your behalf. In any case, that is our last mechanic, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget about that 50% discount for pre-ordering our website. Our courses are going to be insane and contain all kinds of information you will not find in an easier to understand way anywhere else. So take advantage of being an OG now and get your discount. Simply follow the link in the description below or go to GameLeap.com and use code WARZONE. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, please take care and peace.